Started here. We are going to get ready to rumble with Dan Jones. All right, everybody. So this is going to be about the best call of the year in terms of our Monday calls. I will tell you, super humble guy. Dan will tell you all day long that he did nothing spectacular to build his business. And he's actually right. He didn't do anything spectacular to build his business. I'll tell the quick backdrop to how I got to know Dan, and that'll kind of give you some context. So I met Dan through a seller client of mine, Corey, who literally was just in my house, installed some way overpriced AV system for me. Dan was moving to Charlotte to be with his mom as she was in the last year of her life, and worked like part-time on my team, put in like crushed every agent, top producing agent, decided to do it on his own, which I knew that's what he wanted. He almost bought a $2 million restaurant down in Hilton Head. So he's a hustler, entrepreneur at his heart. Went at it for a couple of years on his own. Actually stayed in my brokerage as an indie agent, the only indie agent I've ever had in my brokerage at Remax. And then I got in the coaching side of things. I'm like, dude, just let me show you. He resisted a little bit. And then we've been working together probably for three years now, over 3 years.
Right at 3 years.
Yeah. So, and here's a guy that, was doing like 65, 70 deals the hard way, had an assistant, was trying to recruit. And then we just went to work and we just put this one step in front of the other, super systematic, really stingy, on spending money in a good way. Did his numbers on, wrote his monthly financials out for like a year when we started working together. Didn't overthink, it's a chart of accounts. It's like anytime I spend money, I write it down on a piece of paper. It's my chart of accounts. And, basically hired one agent per quarter, really slow to hire. The same sort of daily accountability he used on my team, he just makes his agents use. And how many agents do you have on your team this year?
We're about ready to be 9.
And what are you going for this year in terms of transactions?
A minimum 300. Our push number is 3.25.
And how long have you been personally out of production?
I stepped out last March. In April was my last closing. But yeah, March I let everything go and held my breath and shifted gears and focused on different parts of the business. But yeah, March last year, let go.
And how many weeks off did you take when your baby girl entered this world?
Man, it was beautiful. 6 and then part-time for following 2 weeks afterwards. It was awesome. It was awesome. And the crazy thing is they did better. The team did better with me gone. We wrote 26 deals in October, the full month that I was out. And I just kept seeing contracts and I'm thinking, holy cow, everyone's at it and it runs better without me, which is good and kind of bad. But yeah, it was awesome.
Let's back it up. So that was the quick overview. If that wasn't enough to get y'all excited to stay on this call, I don't know what is. And Dan, so Dan's in boardroom. He's in one of the upper level groups in boardroom, and he has one of the lowest operating expense spends of most of our boardroom members. And so all that means is that he's making more deals off less monthly overhead or less risk. He's got the right economic model in place in terms of value-based commission splits. So he really sort of put it together in the right order, the right way from the beginning. So take us back to, tell me one or two things that you learned when, I've never asked you this question before, but it's such a unique perspective because you were on my team. What were the years you were on my team?
2009, I was doing inside sales. Then 2010, 11, and half of 2012.
So the year that I did 120, 180 to 250. So you were on my team all 3 of the years that you saw what it was, and then you went out and did it yourself.
Mhm.
What'd you learn from being on my team? A couple things.
Hire good people. I did hire good people, but not necessarily sales-oriented people. Which I look around at the team that you had that we were on. Those guys were like hustlers, and even though my focus personally was on good people are not always the best fit for your team in regards just to motivating. But the biggest thing I would say, I would say just being deliberate. Like you were always on track for doing one or two things, and that was it. And then conquering those one or two things, and had a bigger vision in mind for the next. And had direction. You always had direction. And that's personally something I lacked. And when you finally said, what are you waiting on? Like, let me coach you, instead of just keep on spinning tires for the next 3 to 5 years. That was probably number one, direction and being deliberate with what we're going to be doing in the next 3, 6, 9 months, and doing it and getting shit done, really.
Awesome. And so you left my team in 2012. We kept in touch because you actually stayed. I just kind of tucked you away from everyone else in the brokerage, and launched the coaching business really kind of late 2013. And then you were doing it on your own part of 2014 as well. And so tell me like about that time. What was it like it was just you and Gwen, your assistant, for I think most of that time, and you're doing a good enough amount of business, but describe what it was like to kind of be in that phase of your business where maybe you didn't know exactly what you should be working on, but you were hustling, you were selling houses. Kind of describe what it was like back then.
Yeah. So I'm not afraid to hustle and work hard. And that's what I did. I had one assistant and I had tons of extra business. But literally just sell with no direction. And I spent way too much on what I needed just to generate. But that was all 2000, really 13, 14 into the early part of 2015. I kind of had that epiphany halfway through 2014 saying, what the hell am I doing? And I started getting frustrated because it's like, okay, it's really good to sell 50 and 60 homes, but where's the end? What am I doing? What's my purpose? Like why, I have to do the same thing every single year to get the same result. My spending was all over the place. I still had fun because I do like to hustle and work hard, but purpose, no meaning, and no ending in sight. But that was 2014 and 2013 wrapped up in a nutshell. Kick a lot of ass, sell a lot of homes, but no purpose, no ending in place, and no real systems, and just run around in circles.
And so what was a lot of people really struggle to go through, the 50, 60, 70 with an assistant, and life isn't really your own, to go those big steps and not to spend a whole lot of time at the really painful parts, to really accelerate through the what was the growth? What did the growth look like? What was 14 before we started working together? What was 2014 and 15, 16, 17? Kind of give the idea of growth. Maybe talk about volume, GCI, and number of agents of each of those years.
Yeah, so it was roughly mid 2014 where, I don't want to say my vision when I left your team was to start this own team and try it myself. I wanted to focus on a different part of town. But once I got to a certain point where I started to get busy, I was like, Lars has a team. Teams are popular. I'm just going to start trying to do, a team as well. So I made 3 hires, which are not with me any longer. Really genuinely nice people, but shouldn't have been in real estate in general. Had no sales background, no hustle, no desire to really sell a lot of real estate. Those were those 3 hires about mid 2014. And then it was early 2015 where I made, I believe, 2 or 3 more hires. It was Patrick, Susan. Let's call it, we were 6. So five agents and myself. And painfully through 2015, we started working together, I want to say the 1st of March, 2015. So from that moment until that's the first year, I only did 50 deals. And the other 5 members, I think we did 104 or 106. And it was pain. It was, you can imagine 10 homes and my spend went up probably 50%, and if not more, in 2015, until we finally started to say, hey, let's look at the numbers and let's figure out who the hell's on your team and who's not. And that was about the time went into 2016 where we slowly let everyone go and started rehiring into the group that we have today. But that was roughly the kind of the 2014 transition into 2015, with 2016 doing right at 200 sides.
Awesome. And talk a little bit about the importance. I guess you hired not to core values originally. Talk about that. That's really tough for people to understand. There's one thing I could go back and understand differently: the importance of just deciding who you want to surround yourself with and just finding people like that. And it's not difficult. I never really understood it for some reason. A lot of people don't. They surround themselves with people that don't want to work. They don't want any discipline or accountability in their life. And then they wonder that they're not getting results, So talk about that a little bit, core values and culture.
Amen. That's, when I look back at B school in general, and I really think deep on what's been the most powerful, just steps in the right direction of becoming a better person and having a better organization and a better team, it comes back down to core values. But the very first intensive, and I really like to, it irritates me, but it's very humbling as well. With the very first intensive I was at in April 2015, we really talked about core values and our why, right? And it literally took months to come up with my why and my core values around that. And core values are something that you shouldn't come up with in 15, 20 minutes. It's like your goals for the following year. If you come up with your goals for the following year in 5 or 10 minutes, they're probably not that deep. They don't have any meaning. Our core values started really around the idea of everything I've personally always have done, I've done in my life, has been to make people around me better. And that's with anything and everything I've always done, from sports, volunteering at the church, anything. That was really powerful. And, when I really had that self-realization, it's like, yeah, fair enough. It is a growth mindset. So when you started talking, especially around a growth mindset, not just for business, but with people in general. So our team members who want to get better, who are goal oriented, who want to help people around them to get better. That goes really deep with us. And then I can start building around the idea of, I've always been someone who's going to hustle. Like when I played soccer back in the day, I went out and move you, but when we get on the field, I used to tell the person beside me, I hope you got your track shoes on today because I want to run circles around you. And I hope your girlfriend's not here because I want to make you look really bad today. And I would run them to the ground. So I was never afraid to hustle. And I was just going out running, and, it is what it is. So you start taking those, like hustle and work hard. I remember you said that, and we kind of put our own twist to it. But when you sit down with someone and you're going to hire, literally I've had, I want to say probably 11, maybe 12 views to get to the point now where we're extending two offers to 2 agents. Probably Wednesday of this week. I got one more thing to verify with one of them. And I want to do it at the same time, but we are going to extend 2 offers. But I probably spoke to 60, maybe 50, 60, 70 people to get to 10, 12 interviews face-to-face to extend 2 offers that we're so deep with who I know we're looking for that I know would be a good fit and understands and the value we bring, that you made $60,000, $70,000 on your own, for 3 years in a row, but I know you can get to 130, 140 really quickly, probably this year with us. And just knowing the core values around on who to hire. Powerful. It's really powerful. I look around the room now that we're all on the same page. But like you said, going back to 2015, 15, when I was just, you're busy and, I saw your ad and, and be on your team. I'm like, really? That's awesome. Come on board. And we were a bunch of clowns, really. We had no purpose, but now just around the whole idea of core values and knowing who we are, what we're looking for, it's powerful. We have a great group and we know who we're looking for.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's go to a little bit of the tactical. So one thing that I've admired about how you grew your business is that you really, the whole concept of going deep and not wide. I mean, I think on less than one hand of all the people that we've been blessed to coach, you have taken that one principle and really applied it to your benefit. Um,
Mhm.
Talk about how that translates. Like, what were the lead sources? When did you know to spend more money? When did you add the second or third lead source? Like, how did it play out for you? And what does it look like today? I know, for you and me to even have a conversation about adding another lead source is like pulling teeth. I'm like, Dan, you're ready for another lead source. And you're like, no, 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 I think I can get some more. I can get some more out of this one. So talk about that. Talk about specific lead sources, what you looked for, how you knew when to add or not, or all of that.
I think the one key word that comes down to a lot of this is just keeping things crazy simple. I forget which intensive or at what point you had told me just keep everything crazy simple. Don't overspend. Watch your numbers. Show me how to watch my numbers. What I should be spending per transaction. Um, but the whole idea of keeping everything just simple. That I don't care how many calls we get. Oh, this person sells this using this platform, that platform. Um, I've really figured out, for example, we do a lot with realtor.com, and for a while we were doing a lot with Tiger. Those were our two lead sources. The first year we knocked on the door 200 transactions, and that was pretty much it. We had about, I think, $750 a month with Zillow, but nothing really to write home about. So with the two lead sources, and we weren't really doing anything for sellers minus there was a few home eval leads coming in, but nothing dramatic. We went almost for 200 sides with the two lead sources, but we just got really well minus sign calls, but paid lead sources. We got really good at going deep with our realtor.com leads. We call agent request. Our steps, our protocols, what happens if you struggle with the lead, how we convert, what we do once we convert. And we went crazy deep. And our ROI was roughly, it was like almost 10 to 1, 9.5 to 1 with elevated pricing of realtor.com, in 2016. Now that they're getting even more expensive, that's come down some. But we just went crazy deep, and every agent on the team knows, like, they just won't get any more leads if they're not going 8 text, 8 phone calls with every single agent request style lead, in 5 days. They just don't get anymore. So it's just really going deep on one process on how to handle that lead, and just working with everybody, role playing it, training, working, training, until you just master that lead source. So what we did there afterwards, we still kept Tiger leads, just pay-per-click, general pay-per-click coming in. We got really good at those as well. Follow up, how we follow up. But then we went a little bit deeper this past year on Zillow. We're still only spending, I think we're at $2,500 a month right now with Zillow. But same thing, we went deeper and deeper, and that's about the only additional spend, about $1,500 extra that we're going to do on a monthly basis to basically take us from 220 homes last year to 300. In addition, just to higher conversion on our sign calls. But it's just going crazy deep and having like a literally system after system after step after step that everyone knows, does, and executes, that we don't have to go out and buy, $4,000 or $5,000, $10,000 more worth of leads on a monthly basis to execute with what we have.
Yeah, and the thing is, all of us, Dan and myself included, we have natural tendencies to want to chase the thing, right? When Tiger, got acquired 2.5 years ago, whatever, everyone used that as an excuse to look for a different platform. And I know things are changing recently, but like for you, it was just go deep. How sexy is it to write a document that says, like, there's nothing sexy about it, right? It's the least exciting part of owning a business. And it's the one thing that's going to make you money, where other teams in the same market are marginally profitable on realtor.com on the same leads. So what's the difference? Is it the lead source? It's not the lead source. And so that's just the one thing I want everyone to realize, is that, Dan just said the least exciting thing that some of you may have missed is that he makes sure every lead gets whatever, 15 calls, 8 texts, 8 emails, whatever that thing is for him, 10 days of pain, 21 days of gain, whatever your thing is, you need to put it together with a lot of thought and then hold your team accountable to it. And it's not this big dramatic thing if they don't do what you say they should do. They just don't get leads for a week while they clean up their database. Anything else to add on that? I mean, it's so profound. I wish everyone knew how powerful it was to really pay attention to a lead management system. Anything else you can add to kind of convince everyone that they need to slow down and look at their lead sources and realize, so your database, so you had a database too, your database and 2 lead sources, you got to 200 transactions. You added 1 lead source, so 3 lead sources in your database, and you've got a shot at 300 plus transactions.
Correct.
And then you've got enough margin in the business where you could do some mass media, or you could make a different decision. But, you got through the tough part of building a team where the margins are always squeezed, getting through that, 750 to $1,250,000. That's a really tough time to build a team. You got through there with really decent, never good enough for you, but really good profit margins compared to what I did, because I didn't have this roadmap, this, somebody, helping me hold my spend accountable.
I love the numbers aspect of the spend and the conversion that I would love to get to closer to an 8.5-9% marketing spend at 300 transactions, if not the 325 transactions. Most teams that I've spoken to run anywhere from 12, 14, 15% marketing. I know you coach on, staying as close as you can to 10, at the high side 12. I would love to see at the end of the year, if we can knock on the door of 8.5-9% marketing spend. I know a lot of places, Zillow included, realtor.com, the pricing's going up, so I'm not sure, how that's going to play into effect. But literally, the big takeaway from the marketing spend and not chasing, shiny squirrels, which you said several times, and it just still sticks to my mind. Just stay simple, stay focused on the 1 and 2 things. And go deeper and deeper and deeper. Why are we not converting at X rate? Why do we need more leads? We don't need more leads. We need better conversion, and just coach and coach and coach on the conversion side until everyone's just proper ninjas on the team. So it's a lot less painful once you get to the point where everyone is on the same page with what needs to happen for every single lead versus spending more and more money on leads. But I love the fact that we can look at numbers, and I can show you a month we're at 10, 9 to 11% every single month on our marketing spend. And we're staying consistent with 22, 24 closings first quarter, to be right on pace for the 300.
Yeah. And then same thing with people, right? So you track your people expenses. How are you doing on the people expenses?
We ran a little bit higher last year because we had some contract work, 2 interns over the summer, and we had to let somebody go, and we were a little bit high. We ended up like 12. It's not horrible, but I really wanted to stay closer to 10, 11%. Is what it is, but I don't want to beat ourselves up over it. But we finished right at 12.5%.
Yeah, awesome. And then you're independent. What was your additional overhead? What percent was on everything else?
We were a tad high. We ended up being about 7.2% on the year. We will keep that right at 6.5 this next year. We had a little bit additional. Well, I sent 4 people, 3 of the agents and Gwen to Colorado last year, so that was a little bit of additional expense for travel and things like that. But we take a few of those things out, would have been closer to where we needed to be. But we were just a tad high. But our goal is to stay around that 6.5 this year.
All right. I want to start to prime the pump for everyone else to ask questions too. We've got a huge crowd on here. Record attendance for the one and only Senor Jones. Talk about the transition from So you've always been sort of a player, like when you were not, that sounded bad. Versus a coach, like when you were in Hilton Head, like you were going to buy the restaurant with the other guy, but you were hustling as a server and a bartender, like whatever you needed to do to hustle and make money, you were doing it. Um,
Mhm.
and then same thing, you came on my team and you just hustled, you made it work while you had some serious personal stuff going on. You kind of just always were keeping active. How was the switch from that? Like, man, I gotta go sling some drinks or sling some houses to make money versus I gotta get my stuff together, figure out how to manage and lead and track my numbers and become a business owner. How was that shift for you? How'd you manage that shift?
So for real estate, you know, I'm glad I was in production still when I got into, um, yes and no. I'm glad I was in production when we got together, because you really get experience to still doing the grind while you're learning. And now I can really look back and, even though I still grind. I'll put it out there. I'll follow up with sellers that we've, met with, calling them, calling past clients. I'm right there with agents doing all those, fun things that are, true dollar productive activities. But when I made the switch last March, um, one was scary as hell, to give all my book of business away. Two, I knew deep inside there. First of all, there's never the perfect time to leave. You and I spoke about that, and with faith, I just stepped out. And April was really, really scary. Past clients were selling, and people I've been working with, for a year and a half until they were ready to sell. But I really know, like, my time is more valuable spending with each and every agent, coaching, training on the phone, and just going deeper with leads. That you have all the tools. You gave me all the tools to do those things. It's when you step out and you decide to make the transition from stepping out that you can go deep with everything that you've learned to actually implement. Not saying you can't go deep while you're doing the grind and you're slinging houses, but it was really powerful to have the time to go deeper and deeper with every single thing that we were doing. And the agents love it. The systems were good. They're better. The more time you put into it, the better it's going to be. As for, your return, your bottom line, I know when you step out of the business, you're not getting full commission checks, but on the same time, everyone else on the team will do 10, 15 more transactions. I know they will, with me coaching them, spending more quality time and doing more follow-up with them, on a daily and weekly basis. So everything's relevant, but it's a transition. It's a mindset shift that, if I had to jump back in and go sell houses tomorrow, I don't care. I just know my time is more valuable on this side over here, coaching and helping and organizing and going deeper with every system, and recruiting at this point in training versus, slinging houses and, half-assing my loyalty to my agents. They're here because we're here to train them and they want to be better. But otherwise, that's the big mindset shift. Besides the fear factor of, like, oh my God, what did I just do? And why didn't they get that appointment, or they did get it? But it's just so much more dollar productive, and your folks grow so much more rapidly on that side of the fence as well when you're more of the coach versus inside slinging houses.
Yeah. A few questions for you. So Julie asks, how do you hold your agents accountable? Do you check their leads every day? What are your conversations like when they're not doing what they need to convert the leads?
So this is a version of kind of just the DYD, with all my to-dos. The top 3 to-dos that are non-negotiable every day, is to listen to all the recorded sign calls from the day before, and make sure they are all answered live. And then review all our leads. So any lead that comes in now.
Let me stop you.
Go ahead.
Let me stop you. So this is a tool that Dan used as a solo agent, as an agent on my team, that he has never stopped using. So Dan tells his agents to be accountable. to the same system that he's accountable to. So just because Dan's out of production, it doesn't mean he doesn't time block his day in half-hour increments. It doesn't mean he still has his top six. It doesn't mean that he still has big responsibilities on the team. And so I just want to make sure everyone didn't miss that, is that the daily time tracking system that your agents use is the same exact one that you use. And you have never stopped using for how many years now? Since 2009?
It's been a while.
10.
10 or 11, yeah.
Yep.
I got years of these things. Like, I've kept every single one. I got big 3-ring binders with everything. And it's funny to go back, look in 2010, 11, and look who you're wasting time with. But I go through these with our agents as well. Once a month, we'll go through these, and I'll look at their days, what they look like, on a scale of a month, and just say who could we have cut out, and what did we learn from working with that sort of person. They're really valuable. But it's a valuable tool. It keeps you organized, and hold yourself accountable to see what you did and did not do on the day before. But as for just review all leads, we've put every single sign call, any lead that walked through the door, as long as it's an agent or somebody trying to sell us something, goes into our lead platform system, into our Tiger backend. And that lead's assigned to the agent who took the call or our RSA. And with that, it's just reviewing them every day. I mean, I don't like doing it, but the agents know that I'm not, breathing down their neck, but it's, hey, what happened with this Zillow lead yesterday? Oh, they're not looking for a while. Okay, where will they be looking? Why are they not looking right now? Interest rates are going up. Try to get the full story, and they get the hint. And we just role play, and they get them back on the phone. Like Lars says, there's nothing sexy about that. I just know it's done. But if they don't, we have expectations and consequences. To answer, I believe, the second or third part of that question, we have an expectation and consequences written out for basically, you do X, Y, and Z, and if you don't, this is what happens. And I found, we did that earlier last year, and I found that when you have it spelled out and it's written out, I don't have to go to say to a Matt and say, hey, Matt, you're off leads for, 7 days because this, and this. It's written out. It's just an email to the ISA, hey, Matt's off leads for 7 days. And she lets you know, hey, you're off for 7 days. And I'll tell him, he's like, hey, you should have had your numbers in on time, and is what it is. And I don't have to, hit people's hands with the ruler to say, you did wrong. They just know it. And few people didn't like it, but most everyone embraces it now. And things just happen. Everyone's on the same page, and doesn't require.
I had someone that spent a couple of years in the program tell me that the most valuable system they took was the lead management policy.
Yep.
If you take that one document, you spend 2 hours to read it. You then take 2 hours to sort of think about how you want it to show team, and then take 2 hours to rewrite it, and then just say, let's pretend we're a real company with a policy. And if the policy is broken and these are those strikes 1, 2, 3, it's right there on the policy. You knew that if you didn't call your A's, B's, and C's, and you didn't take notes in Tiger, that you're going to be off leads for 7 days. Like, why? What's the conversation about? Let's not have this conversation next week.
Yep.
It's not this big like Dan's an asshole, because it's the policy. Like, we agree in advance. Expectations, I think that's the number one miss when we're hiring agents. We're so desperate to get someone to take over a piece of the business, or we think that we need them more than they need us. And it's not true, And so just take some time with a single document like that. Decide how you want, what the best looks like. There's always a good, better, best. And then there's just consequences. So the expectations are clear. Here are the consequences. Let's shake on it, and off we go. And it doesn't have to happen more than once, for to be off leads more than once. And sometimes they'll be like, you're right, dude. I am completely slammed. I worked with 6 buyers this weekend. I had no time to clean up my CRM. I need a good 3 or 4 days to clean it up. And you're right, I shouldn't get any new leads. So it's really,
it does open up that communication. You'll hear that. I know, for example, Joe emailed late Friday and was like, man, I totally fell 2 hours short on my calls, but I wrote 3 offers, signed people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'll, can I make up an hour next week, for dial time? And I'm like, I mean, how can you say no? It's fully responsible saying, hey, I did 7. I know he only did 7 versus coming back in and you say, yeah, absolutely. That's good communication versus, just kind of staying under the radar. But I think number one reason, because it took me a little bit longer than it should to come up, and do the lead management policy, simplify it and, make it ours, is if we had to ask everyone in our group or just teams around the country, what are your top complaints about the team, the way it's running, I guarantee you, number one is the way agents are prospecting or lack thereof on the leads. They're not going deep enough. They're not calm enough. So if you can solve that problem right now, why are you not? And I remember, I forget which training call it was. It was last year, early last year sometime. We were talking about the lead management policy. And I was like, I got to do this because I'm so damn frustrated. And our spend was low, but still it's just frustrating when leads aren't getting called and followed up with as they should. That, it's not perfect now, but it's a hell of a lot better. And you don't have to, bang your head against the wall, 5 and 6 times a year, wondering when you see your P&L, why did we buy so much and nobody's following up with them? So it's key. Lead management policy is a must.
Yeah. And not that the one that's in the drive has everything. If you're on this call and you're a principal on your team or you're the main ops person for your team and you guys don't, you're like, lead management policy, like, what is it? It's the first thing you do. You do it together, honestly. I mean, if you've got a team that has a culture right now and you're not prepared to blow the whole thing up because you have a bunch of misfits, you just ask the team, what do you think would give us the best chances of success in the business called real estate? I need everyone to sit on top of the business today. What would it be? Here's something that's working for other teams across the country. They use Mojo technology. They're doing 5 dials in 24 hours, 15 in 21 days, 8 texts. Like, these are the things that are actually going on with our competition. What do you think we should do so we crush them? And you get them to be part of the solution, and then you work on a document. All right, can we live with this? Are you guys cool with the 3 strikes? Are you cool with ABC? Are you cool with, and then everyone's like high five. And then there's one guy that's not going to fall in line and he's off the team in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then you'll, other people that need that structure, they're going to be like, oh man, thank God. It's so much easier knowing what you expect of me versus just kind of not knowing, if I'm doing my job right or not. That's really awesome. We've got a really good question about David Caggiano. Does Dan prefer to hire brand new agents or agents with some experience?
I like that. 'Cause I've battled a lot with, my biggest thing is showing some level of coachability, either through past jobs or being on some sort of athletic team at a decent high level. But if we're going experienced, I don't usually look at too much after 2 to 3 years. If they're 2 to 3 years deep personally and they've been doing 15 to 20 transactions and I know I can take them to 40 in 12 months, yes, let's consider it. But some agents think they know it all. And I talked to one on Friday and really kind of cool, smooth talking guy. And last year he did $3 million in his first year and his goal is $5 million this year. And I was like, well, this company you're working with, they take 30% of your check. So if I do the math and I look at, one of our first year agents in real estate, just like you, and first year on our team, she cleared over $147,000, but you're telling me you cleared this, where's the disconnect? So some agents that are a little bit experienced, even with a year or two, think they know it all. And if you have that conversation up front, you're probably going to butt heads, like, during training. So I'd prefer a newer agent. I know tons of people on this call that have experienced agents as well. I just like the newer so we can, really just nurture them. But 6 months in the business, it is nice when they go through a company like a Keller Williams or Helen Adams, let's say, or Alan Tate, that they do have really good training programs for new agents in regards to learning contracts. And so I hate explaining like DocuSign and read the contract. I'm like, look, the contract is what it is. Go read it. If you have a question, specifically answer, but we're not going to spend, a week on it like some of your bigger companies here in the area. But I like to go a little bit less experienced personally.
Yeah, awesome. What was your production level when you stepped out of production, and what was your team total production?
Well, last year we basically ran with five, minus myself. I did 12 transactions up until March last year when I stepped out. We knocked on the door of 220. I had one agent. He's taking some time off real estate, but you subtract his 10. My brother, who was not in real estate last year, he just worked his SOI. He did 12. The team did the rest. The year before, personally, going into 2016, we started our company. So I didn't have any transactions on the board till the end of January, and I didn't take anything else after September 1st because my wife and I went to Europe for 3 weeks. I sold 50 homes from basically third week of January to the first week of September. So I've always been 50 to 60 and was on pace for that, maybe a couple more last year before I gave all the business away.
So that's so about a quarter of the team. Yeah, so that's a huge risk. I've got agents that are like half of the team and they're looking to get out of production. It's really, probably about the right, you need to hustle, build a team. Not all complete slam dunk fits necessarily, but you've got to get that transaction count up there so there's less risk to you coming out, and you've got the profit margin baked in there. If you're 50% of your production and you're looking to get out of, if you're 50% of the volume, you're looking to get out of production, that's really risky. And so on 50 deals, you're about 8,000 average commission check?
Roughly.
Yes. So about 400,000. That's where I've coached people. About 400,000, you can give away 25%, and it's a good living for somebody. Even if Dan had to go on a few listing appointments, for his SOI to say, hey, or here's my business partner, that sort of thing. That's about $100,000 at 25% to hand over your book of business. And even if Dan basically, put most of that business to a bunch of agents, that's about the right numbers. How many listing agents on your team?
Last year we had 1.5. So Clay focused mostly on listings. Last year he ended up doing, I think, like 10 buyers as well. And then Dewan made the transition about halfway through the year last year. Now we're running with 2.5. Kim's our half. She's doing mostly buyers with some listings, but we're running with 2 right now.
Awesome. Talk about, this is a really good question. And I actually can't remember offhand how you're going to answer it, so this will be interesting. Talk about when you brought an ISA onto the team. What did the production look like at that time? How did the process change from ISA handling leads to buyer's agents, assignment of leads, all of that? Talk about ISA, how you've utilized them in your business.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's never a perfect time. I think we could all agree with that. You bring one on too early or you waited too late. But production was already good. But the agents started, we're getting a little bit busy. And it was last year when it was about May that the agents were tired. Like, I did a poor job last year on hiring and recruiting. I put my foot on the gas, then I took it off, foot on the gas and took it off. That we got caught when I let 2 agents go that just couldn't follow the true accountability, even though they said they could, and they really couldn't. So we went down from 7 agents to 5, and everyone was really tired. And our numbers were looking great for the year, even though we were 5. Everybody was kicking ass. So at that point, they were all prospecting, but they couldn't keep up with the amount of calls that we had coming into the office and then, just leads generated. So we needed somebody to help out with that role. Because I was doing it myself too. If I was in the office, no one was here or whatever, like a realtor.com lead would come in, I would, text it out to 4 agents. Hey, I'm in a showing. Nobody could call. I was calling. But the ISA, I remember you saying, and you still say this with, you don't hire it until everyone's maxed out already. Then you bring somebody on, to kind of take a little bit of the prospecting off of everyone's plate and start shifting a few leads so they get, an appointment or 2 from the ISA on a weekly basis in addition to what they're already doing. And that was kind of the guidelines around that. Like, hey, Becca is not here to replace prospecting for everybody. It's exactly opposite. You should prospect more, every minute that you have that you're not showing houses, but she's here to, help us when we're showing for 2 weeks in a row, and you can't just have your book of business stop. And then also we had a month last year. We did like 16 and 22, the 19 transactions. And we had 2 months last year where we went down to 12 and 11, then back up to 21. And, I didn't want to see these like waves in real estate. And sometimes you can't not help that when 3 of your agents are just slammed with contracts, negotiating, and they're busy. You stay off the phone. So I see this year more of a 20 to 30 all the way through, and none of these teens and 11 and a mixed in with a 24 right beside it. I want to see consistent, at least 20 transactions across the board. And then our bigger months, sneak into the 30, 35. But that was the whole idea around it. They were just all tired, and they were crushing the phone still, but they needed help.
Yeah, and you said a couple things that I want to just make sure everyone heard. One thing you just kind of you said pretty quickly was that you kind of took your foot on and off recruiting. Recruiting when you're at the level where you want to scale, from 60 to 120 to 200, and you really want to scale, you need to treat recruiting. This is one thing I really wish I understood better. I have no regrets, of course. My journey was my journey. One thing I wish I understood better is recruiting is just as important as any other lead gen in your business. And I really didn't figure that out until really just recently. Honestly, we hired a full-time recruiter who was busy 50 hours a week looking for talent. And so that's one thing, is that, when you're in this growth mode, you never can sort of take a break from it. It's a shift in, now you're not working with internet buyer leads or yard sign calls. You're just calling your sphere for business and for talent, and you're putting lead gen systems in place for recruiting. Second thing you said, unless you have agents that are really working hard, they have some discipline and structure, they're willing to be held accountable, they're hustling, they're at the point where, like, Dan, I'm in this thing with your brother, but I'm exhausted. Like, could we get some help? And there's 2 ways to help them. There's inside sales and there's a showing agent. I wish I really would have understood the power of a showing agent, model. I mean, we use showing agents, not as deep as we do now. And then also inside sales is really something that comes when you have 4 or 5 agents that are selling 3 homes a month. So it's not a lot of teams use it as a Hail Mary for a team that's completely broken. Really, really important you guys get the difference between those two. All right, let's see. We got a couple of questions from Ryan Anderson. So how do all leads come? So he has a question. Do you have any showing assistants? And how do agents follow up with the leads or ISAs? Who gets the lead? How's the lead routing? And then showing agents.
All right, good question. No showing agent. We probably will maybe around April. We have with 2 college, actually seniors this year, have 1-2 more semesters each that both have active license. They're not ready to sell, but are totally on board to show. But I don't think we're ready for a showing agent yet or 2. So we'll knock on that door.
You said something really cool there. Let me interrupt. So yeah. Dane just said, there are people that are join your team that aren't ready to sell, but they can go show homes. Like, not everyone is going to come on your team and be a crush it, outside agent, lead agent, and sell 50, 60 homes a year. There are people that are going to be super happy making 50 grand as a hustling showing agent. It doesn't mean they're lazy, right? They just don't have the new business development sort of bone in their body. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, but I wanted to.
No,
you're spreading some gold around. I want to make sure we don't miss it.
It's all you, man. All you. Just you listen, intake it, and implement. So showing model. What was the other second half?
How are leads dispersed between agents and ISA?
Okay, so right now the ISA has a lead for basically, if the lead comes in today at 10, she has it until roughly 4:45, 5 o'clock, and then it goes to one of the agents. She still stays on the lead. The agent right now, anyways, has the lead for 25 days with the ISA to call and prospect. That's pretty much it. And then at the end of 25 days, if it's not contacted, it goes into our pool, and everyone has access to that lead. I'm going to share this only because it was a takeaway from one of the from one of the calls the other day, one of the mastermind calls, that what we're leaning towards is a lead comes in. Becca, our ISA does have it for the first part of the day. End of the day, she assigns it. But instead of letting an agent have the lead for 25 days, we're still going back and forth, a 2, 3, possibly 4 days maximum. You get a lead, and then after that, it goes into a big pool where anybody and everybody has access to it from, let's just say, day 4 until 25. And those leads are just getting hit in the dialer by everybody all day, every day, versus you only having access to 6, 7, 8, 10 people at a time in your first couple of days. You have access to everybody. So that's something we're talking about doing. That seems like it's working for a few other people. But right now, what we're doing is working fine. But give Becca a shot at our ISA for it for the first part of the day. Very end of the day before she goes, she assigns all the leads depending on where they're looking, personalities, and then the agent has it for a specific amount of time.
One other question. So David Caggiano says, do you use Mojo Dialer?
Damn right. Absolutely. We don't make single dials. All the agents are required to be in office, and they schedule it on our new business development calendar, 8 hours a week, only dialer time, not prospecting, be a bomb. It's 8 hours. So one of the things we did last year is could be beneficial for some people on the call as well. We went through and scrubbed every single list and every single missed call through Dialogue Tech, and put everything back in the dialer, even if it was in the dialer already. Let's throw it back in the dialer. This is embarrassing, but whatever. We're all here to learn. We had almost 2,000 people. Yeah, get ready to laugh. It is what it is. Almost 2,000 people here that reached out to us that we never were able to pick up the phone live. Doesn't mean we didn't call them back. But we missed 2,000 calls last year, and we answered almost as many calls as we missed, but we also probably short 3 to 4 agents. We could have done 300 transactions last year if I wouldn't have stopped recruiting. We had the calls into the office. We had people, blowing us up, just like our goal was for the year, to have people call us. We did. We just didn't answer the phone. We were short on staff, and everybody was tired. So somebody's other question was the ISA. That was another reason to try to get more conversion on these live calls, especially during the day. So that's another reason for the ISA hire.
As your business scales, like if I could put Dan Jones on every internet lead that came in and every yard sign that came in 24/7 on his team would do more than 500 sides. I can pretty much guarantee it. He has enough opportunity coming through. There's no way you could do that, right? It'd be impossible. So that's what you're fighting. When you're building a team, you're fighting the inefficiencies of you getting out of every position that you crushed yourself personally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, so when you hear Dan talk, he's not doing like glitzy marketing stuff or, designing a logo or, working on the next gen of listing presentation. He's talking about lead, set, met, signed, right? Lead, set, met, signed. And then, that's the whole business, and we tend to forget it. So it's so freaking good. So Scott asked, what did that call? Yeah, and I appreciate your honesty. That's the same for every team. It's the same for our team. It's the same for, teams as they scale. They don't have the sense of urgency, even if they did have the sense of urgency. If your team is super busy, they're not getting after it. They're not hopping out of bed at 9 o'clock at night and answering the phone or following up a Boomtown lead like I did. And so you're dropping off, and that's where the systems have to be the solution. And you can't expect an agent to respond to an internet lead at 8:45 p.m. It's not going to happen. All right, we've got time for a couple more questions. Scott says, what did that call look like, calling back the Dialogue Tech callers, and how did you scrub the ones you already talked to? That's pretty, you can answer it. Go ahead.
If we spoke to them, to answer the second part of that, if we spoke to them and they recognize us, hey, we just want to follow up. Maybe you called us twice, apologize, but how's everything going? No big deal. Or, hey, your company actually sold us a house. Oh, that's awesome. How's everything going? No big deal. But no, basically going back through Dialogue Tech, just download the list, and anything that did have a number, you just delete, a live answer. Some of our calls, like our yard sign calls, we got bukus last year, but we only had, I want to say 16 yard sign closed sales last year, but for as many calls as like, you know what, let's find the 16 numbers, find them in the spreadsheet, delete those 16, and just call every damn body. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And we got several on the board already for the year just from these lists.
Yeah, that's yeah. And someone asked a question about Mojo. Here's the thing: like, you're in real estate B school because you want to do this at a high level. The ROI on a dialer, and you don't have to buy one for everyone in your team. You can buy for $10 a month. You can buy everyone a seat in Mojo. If you've got 4 agents, you buy 2 dialers. And Dan, I want to make sure, because not everyone has everyone come into the office at this exact time, sit here and do it together. Dan said you must log 8 hours a week in the dialer. It's not like 7, it's 8. You log 8 hours. These are the call lists that I want you to attack this week. You can record the calls. You can use them for training. It's not like this big mythical thing. And in 8 hours on that piece of technology, you can dial 4 to 6 times the amount of numbers you can, even if you were just super fast dialing. So you've got to use technology. It's the biggest no-brainer. And Mojo, I haven't seen a dialer, even the ones that are native to the different platforms, be as good as Mojo. All right. Let's see. Yes, you can use Vulcan and RedX. All the data now feeds to Mojo. I think the data sources are realizing that their dialers are never going to be as good as Mojo, so they all integrate seamlessly with Mojo. We integrate RedX data and Vulcan data at the same time on expireds, and we get different phone numbers for the different addresses, and we call them all. All right, so we have time. Let me see here. So dials versus hours spent. It's all about results. It's all about conversation. Sandy asked a question about dials, hours spent. It's really about meaningful conversation. You're probably not setting your agents up for success. And I've had different numbers in the past. Now I know them to be 20 to 25 meaningful conversations every day with a decision-making adult about real estate. 100 to 125 conversations in a 5-day work week, laser focused to be able to sell 2, 3, 4, 5 homes a month. And then their SOIs on top of that. So, yeah, so hopefully that's helpful. That's about it. I want a parting thought here. So I want you to, we've got members that are struggling to scale. What's 1 or 2 things that you can, and you've talked to a lot of members, Dan's gracious enough to get on the phone with new Revs members and kind of dissect their businesses and where they're sort of having the groundhog year after year. They're doing 50, 60 rides. What's a couple points of advice you can give to someone who's sort of stuck, they're finding it hard to scale?
Don't lose patience. Believe in this. Don't go wide. We did a whole intensive on that, but that's crazy deep. Go deeper and deeper on what you have to convert at a better and higher level. Generally speaking, the answers are not in spending more money. It's simplifying what you have, make it crazy simple for everyone around and go deeper. But the benefit of, there's a lot of people I spoke to who would talk about B school and all that. I said to them, the benefit of getting into B school earlier before you really screw things up, kind of like I did, is you don't have all the pain associated with getting rid of 1 and 2 individuals at a time to hire 1 and 2 more. You can make good, solid hires up front. If you have to blow up your team, which I didn't really have to blow it up, but it was pretty close to it, right at it. You just have to believe that long term, if you simplify, know who you're looking for, and just put your head down and not be afraid of the 18, 24 months worth of hard work, good things will happen. You just have to believe and don't question. Just believe what you're, and just do it.
Yeah, awesome. So there's 2 pieces of homework. Dan, this is going to touch a lot of lives, so I appreciate you. And I got to go to Dan's wedding. So he was a new agent on my team, qualified for Rookie of the Year. So this is just such a cool journey for me to be a part of. And he's done the heavy lifting. I just kind of made sure he kind of stayed on a path. So I just have a lot of love and respect for you.
Thank you.
2 bits of homework that everyone should take. Number 1 is to audit the last 100 leads that came into your business. For some of you, that could be a week's worth of leads. For some of you, that could be, and do it from like maybe a few weeks ago. So they would have gone through whatever lead management process you have in place, which may be none. So do some kind of audit, and you need to get to 10 to 12 dials. You need to get to 4 to 8 emails, 4 to 8 texts, some version of that. If that is horrific, which it's going to be, then you need to look at the lead management policy. Just go into the drive, grab the lead management policy, print it out, read it, get a baseline of it, and then start to construct your own lead management policy. That's just, this is the way it's going to be. Let's rally around this so we can get better. And you could do 3 to 4 times more transactions on the same spend if you just focus on the lead, set, met, all of that, and just maximizing the money you spend.
Amen.
That's it, brother. I appreciate you. And for all of you that are sort of struggling, Dan said it the best. He said, just be patient and trust the process. There's no easy button. It is a blocking and tackling role that you're taking on by being in this program. And it is a juggling when you need to go out and sell for half the day, you need to manage for half the day, and then you need to build systems for half the day. And there's 3 halves. It's 150%. It's too much to do. You just need to get through it. He said 18 to 24 months. So you can, live a couple years like most people won't. So you can live a whole bunch of years like most people will never have the opportunity to. So I love you, brother. Until next time.
Appreciate it, man.
Talk to you guys soon. See you guys.